I think one thing the rice jar experiment points to is a common courtesy among creation. The rice jar experiment is where you put the rice in the jars and then you hate one, you love one, and you ignore one. And I mean, it's repeatable. We did it. I've heard it recently. Someone else did it. And the loved one is consistently better looking. And that's like, oh my gosh, love like makes a difference in the real world in things. And also I think the reason it does is because, well, okay, yes, it's cool. Love makes a difference in the world. Yes, 100%. Your feelings of love are not secret, hiding in you. Neither are your feelings of hate. It's not just, I'm just hurting myself. It's not secret, hiding in you. It's coming out into the world. Yes. Second, the world is courteous. The world of the bacteria, their society, feels that love, feels that interest in this rice. They don't, for whatever reason, take up shop there because that's what spoils food. Food doesn't just spoil on its own. That's why you could, like, canning works and dehydration works. You have to get the water out, or you have to make the water kill everything and have it be completely sealed where nothing else can get in. That's what canning is. Bacteria can, encapsulate, or viruses, and withstand heat. Some bacteria can, I think botulism maybe. That's why I have to do it for so long, because there's like a time, there's like a threshold. Anyway, once everything's dead in the food, and that's why like reheating leftovers kills everything, and also the toxins the bacteria produce, because not only are they there, they're living, but they're also like secreting like their waste products, and sometimes their waste products are toxic to us. Their poop is toxic sometimes not. Sometimes it just smells bad and tastes bad. That's why we think it's bad. It's gone bad. It's a signal to us that has a huge, large population of bacteria that could get into us and take us over. So we don't do that. We don't have the defenses for that. Our smell has saved us from having to have gone through just lots of people dying until, if it were that some of us had some kind of gut bacteria defense against the bacteria in the food, those people would survive, and then we'd now have a defense against that. But it's risky because that doesn't always happen. Like, species just die out. Okay. So, I mean, humans aren't the only extinction cause of species, right? Sometimes adaptation, they just didn't have the adapt. They didn't have the adapt. They didn't have the thing that would have saved them. I don't know. Whatever it is, the genetic luck. Luck or intent? Is that intended? Is the genetic mutations intended, or are they luck-based? Who knows? So it looks like, though, the bacteria are somewhat courteous, because if you want it, they're not trying to take it over. When you don't want it, when you hate it, they'll take that. And when you completely ignore it, it's just gone completely. You don't even think about it. They'll take that back in a second. But that's interesting. And then I feel like there's a practical application to that. When you go through your cupboard and you're looking at your things, if you have love feelings for your things will do better longer. And if you have hate feelings, and if you have ignore feelings, like if you haven't seen that thing in the back of the cupboard for like 2 years, it's probably moldy and gross, dusty and nasty. It's being taken back by the cycle, the eating and death cycle. It's the life cycle. It's being taken back into the cycle. It's no longer yours. And if you have too many things, you can't keep track of everything. Well, that's when things get taken back. So like, kind of makes a case for minimalism, and kind of makes a case for having enough things you can pay attention and maintain, and like keep focus on things, because it's not just about wiping the dust off, but it's also about a feeling of love for it. as we've seen with the rice experiment, the feeling of love. And when grandmother said, I don't think my grandma ever said this, but this is like a grandmotherly saying, that love is the secret ingredient in her cooking. And I think that that's true. I think you can give the same recipe to 3 different families, and if they follow the recipe, I mean, you're going to get 3 different dishes. And my grandma actually told me that she gave her Greek recipe. We call it gapama. It is a lot different than the actual Greek kapama. We call it gapama with a G. And it's just because she's the daughter of a Greek immigrant, the man. So her mom was not Greek, but she was cooking some of the Greek food, and she probably mispronounced things. And then the kids heard it, and she didn't think to correct them because that's not her language. So she just talking, and then they just learned it. And anyway, I'm like an 8th Greek, so we just call it gapama anyway. And we have our own. It's like slightly different than the regular thing, but it's so good to us. My grandma perfected it. She had this gapama that was just unbelievably amazing. And I haven't had it since I was a kid because she stopped cooking when she was in her 60s. She just decided she had done enough cooking and she was done cooking. And so I can understand that. The day in, day out slog of cooking. Your kids are gone. And it's like, you know what? I'm not cooking anymore. You guys cook the food. Jeez. I'm old and tired. But anyway, her gapama, though, was the best. Has not ever been recreated. I've never had it again. I can get close sometimes. My aunt gets close. My mom gets close these days. Growing up, my mom did not have that same desire to, it was just part of the daily chores. It wasn't like an art. Like my grandma was an art. My mom's art is in other ways, but it is now. She makes a decent gapama now. I feel like I make a decent one okay, but my spice ratios are always off. Anyway, when you cook with love, though, it does taste better. It turns out better. It's all so yummy. And love really does make a difference. It makes a measurable difference in actual reality. It's not just like, oh, it's just thought in your head. It doesn't matter at all. It's like the actual thoughts actually matter. So you cultivate the feelings of love, and then you have love.